Hello, guys. I'm going to talk to you about a serious topic, and I know some of you don't want to talk about COVID, but I'm a school teacher, and we have to. We have to. We're coming up to August of 2020. I teach in Missouri. Missouri saw on some days last week, it's actually 4 days in a row, saw record increases in COVID cases in the state and in the metropolitan area where I live. Um, I took time to call out to my friend out in Truman State University, also in northern Kansas, and I talked about his situation. He says he's been a professor there for 20 years. He says he does not plan to go to campus. He does not plan to go to campus to teach. Um, he, like many of us, are going to wait and see what happens during the first 5 days of campus and see if they close down the colleges and universities in the state. Um, I'm really disappointed. We have this wonderful radio station in Kansas City called KCUR, and I'll read the direct official relationship. KCUR 89.3 is a public radio service deeply rooted in the Kansas City metro area since 1957. It's our local NPR station. The station is operated as an editorially independent community service of the University of Kansas City. That's UMKC, which holds the station's broadcast license. Okay. Is this the reason this story is not being covered? I would like to hear it then covered by other independent stations like KKFI in the city, if you would. So basically, my friend who lives outside of the town where Truman State is located in Kirksville, he says he's not planning to go on campus. Many other teachers are afraid, like him. Uh, However, this school is going to have a full orientation and startup around August 11th, and all the students are called back to campus. Um, Let me explain to you what he says is the main reason. The main reason they said is to fill the dormitories, to fill the cafeterias, and of course to try to provide education. But that's like the third tier. And then the safety of the faculties is really at the lower rung, is what he's telling me. I know he's been a lifelong educator. To teach at one institution that long means you're committed. I don't think he says that faculty were properly interviewed or their values were ever brought into consideration at that school and across the state of Missouri. It's not clear that even nurses were asked, nurses who work on campus were asked to, or their opinions weighted at all on whether to open the campuses this August. It was simply a quick decision made in May after many teachers were laid off at the end of the semester. Western State University had a quarter of its staff laid off, for example. My cousin, my nephew and niece who go to Missouri State institutions, including Truman State, and others, and friends in other state institutions, they're all planning to go back and have classes. Now, this is interesting because my daughter's school, she goes to a charter school here in Kansas City, is not planning to have classes. The mayor of Kansas City has asked that no classes start before after Labor Day. I would imagine many other schools are giving their students the option to come to class or not, but the Missouri State institutions are not. They're saying students should come to campus. It's all a big experiment. There's going to be about a 1 to 2 week window, and I think, and my friend up in Truman State agrees that probably they will be closing things down by the end of August. I don't know what the pressure is from the state or the federal government that has led to this, ignoring of the concerns of staff and the people working on campus. But it's just been an administrative push down on to staff and people who've worked in these institutions a long time. Interestingly, For years, Truman State University has said we cannot take from Peter to pay Paul. That is to take funding from the buildings and services to give to academic programs. For years and years, they've said this. But now, basically, the faculty are being asked to give to these services so that they can continue. My friend noted that they could have simply decided not to run the air conditioners and the heaters in the school. They would have saved a lot of money this winter, but instead they want to keep those open at all costs and bring in the staff and students. It would be different if they said they were going to bring it in as an orientation and see how things work out. But no, they're just saying we're going to do this with no other clear plan except to retrench again, maybe, and send everybody home if things get bad. I appreciate that they're trying to, at state universities, of course, do what they can. We do have to get some normalcy. That's a word I hate. Back in our lives, but I'm sure it's a misguided one. If we had simply closed down the economy properly back in April, we would probably be up to this and be starting and opening schools. But we've seen quadrupling of cases in Missouri of corona since April, daily cases. So we need to stop this and improve lives for all and safety. Meanwhile, across the state line in Kansas, as you know, the Kansas governor, she tried to ask that the state, not the state universities, the public schools, I teach in a public school, go ahead and wait till after Labor Day to see if we can get this COVID under wraps. That way we could do what's right. If they're going to have to end up teaching online classes anyways, they could spend the whole August preparing to do that if they need to be. That's what I believe our schools here in Kansas City, Missouri are going to do under the mayor's aegis over the next coming weeks. But institutions throughout the state of Kansas, including the Republican Party, large companies like the slaughtering companies out in Dodge City are forcing schools to reopen up in their communities over the wishes and recommendations of the governor, the health officials in the state, and many other people who are just plain concerned about their kids. I wish them all the best, but I have a feeling that by September they will all be back to school. Back home. It's going to be a big waste of money. They could have focused on distance learning, what they could do this autumn, and get this COVID under control. Wear a mask, etc. In the meantime, KCUR is only talking about schools and maybe the administrative position as presented in regular news releases, and not out there interviewing teachers and staff on the grounds of these campuses, non-leading administrators, and finding out what they think about this coming back to school. Of course, people want their jobs. If I was a cafeteria worker, I'd want my job back. Janitor, I would want my job back. Whatever else serving person is on campus and maintaining things, I want my job. Okay, but at this point, we need to get this virus under control. I love you guys. Wear your mask. KCUR, talk about this fact so that people aren't surprised and say, no one told us. That's what they're going to do. No one told us this is coming, just like the Republicans back in March said, oh, no one told us this COVID was coming. Let's be clear. Many faculty and staff are concerned about it. Article in the New York Times this month made clear they looked at colleges across the United States, and its headline story on, I think it was the 4th of July. Colleges face rising revolt by professors. Most universities plan to bring students back to campus, but many of their teachers are concerned about joining them. Thousands of instructors at American colleges and universities have told administrators in recent days that they are unwilling to resume in-person classes because of the pandemic. And that was 3 weeks ago. More than 3/4 of colleges and universities have decided students can return to campus, but they're facing growing faculty revolt. That's because their opinion was not weighted as usual. Teachers have been run over, not taken care of. My friend up in Truman said he's ready to run online classes and do a even better job this autumn if they need to, and they could be doing that. Instead, they're focusing on getting the kids in, and a lot of professors are trying to go both ways, in face-to-face and not. There are colleges where they're offering both. There are schools in my neighborhood. Lee Summit is offering to students, um, you can stay home if you want to, or you can go online. They say you can't switch back and forth. You make a decision now, and that's what you're going to do. They're going to try to do both. Again, in other towns, they're doing the same thing in neighboring towns around Kansas City. Kansas City is encouraging people to wait and to do whatever it is right and keep people out of the streets and at home. And maybe we could quell this stuff in August, but as it looks like, there's going to be a big crunch because the biggest migration is August. August, people migrate into schools, migrate back from holidays if they had any. They migrate into taking their kids to childcare. And there's just so many unknowns. So I would say if 3/4 of the colleges and universities have been forcing their teachers to come back, and this isn't true of all locations. The University of California system said they're not even going to go online. They're not even going to play around. And that's the same way with my daughter's school. I would recommend all schools where there's high levels of COVID. There would be 3/5 of all states, or maybe even 4/5 of all states having an increase in COVID, that they cannot be making this plan right now. Okay, I don't mean to be causing anxiety, but I think that the KCUR, the local radio station, who we depend on for NPR, should be telling this story. All right, I'm waiting for you guys to share that story about professors, and I would like to have some University of Missouri at Kansas City professors interviewed, as well as some of the community college teachers, as well as local high school teachers in the next weeks. But I think we need to have a good discussion with loud voice given to teachers and professors throughout our listening area in Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas and Missouri. All right, this is Kevin Stoda. Thank you for letting me share with you my opinion about the need to get instructors' voices in place and realize that they are preparing, the instructors are preparing. Many of them are not preparing to come back to school. If they are, they're preparing for a school that's going to be just a false start in the first couple of weeks, and then they'll come home and have to do online classes again. This is not what the state is telling you, and that's not what KCUR is telling you about these colleges and state colleges and universities around here. We need to have a better system. So thank you for sharing me. In the meantime, I'm going to say hi to Vic Bars. Love you. And there's also JD Baradero. Shout out to you, JD. Thank you for letting me share my concerns about state colleges and other things. Let me conclude by saying that it does seem to be corporations and other things are pushing this along. I think we've been talking about a transformation in education. We need to be doing that now, focusing on this transformation, use this distance learning time to make this transition in our schools. And that means planning things more logically, not forcing things down, as has happened in Missouri and probably at Kansas at the state college and university level. I wish you the best wherever you're at, you college people. And I thank you for watching this channel, the Kevin Stoda channel. And I hope you have a great day. I'm going to sign off now, but please subscribe to the Kevin Stoda channel. And thanks for listening.